Hello, Disc Golf World. I hope this podcast finds you well and ready to expand your mind and consciousness into the realm of Zen Disc Golf. I have an excellent show for you today. For your dosage of Discs and Zen, I'll be bringing you a piece I've titled Release and Moving Forward. Also on this episode, Tim, Chris, and I had a chance to sit down and talk to David Mawr. David contacted me and requested to be on the show and talk about several different disc golf projects he's been organizing, including a backpacking trip through Kansas and Colorado, where he's playing as many courses and tournaments along the way to raise awareness and get disc golf into schools. We knew very little about David prior to the show, but we very quickly found him to be one of our close spiritual brothers in the game, lost at birth and reunited in Podland. David is an ambassador to the sport and has a philosophy so closely linked with Zen Disc Golf that I doubt this will be the last time you hear his voice on the pod. Now, we would not be here if it were not for you, the listeners, and the generosity of your contributions. Today's podcast is brought to you by some of our amazing, generous podcast contributors, including Joel Bautista, Sam Dickinson, Seth Jensen, Benjamin Wonders, and Roger Crane, among the many, and I'll be mentioning more and more of your names as podcasts go by. So please see the show notes to find out how you can contribute and keep the pod alive. Now, on to episode number 24.
Hey, dress me up. It'll be fun. I'll be a furry for a day for Zen Disc Golf.
Hello to all our disc golf friends and family in Podland. My name is Patrick McCormick, and I wrote the ancient parchment scroll recently discovered beneath basket 12 at Munden Point Park, entitled Zen and the Art of Disc Golf. And joining me today are some of the most insightful disc golf bloggers and podcasters alive. I couldn't beat them, so I had them join me. And that's Mind Body Discs, Mr. Tim Stewart, and disc golf putt head Chris Bowden. How are you guys today?
Good morning. Doing well.
Awesome.
Good. So happy to have you again. We are also joined by David Mawr, who's embarking on an amazing disc golf journey, and can't wait for him to tell you a little bit more about that. He's got so many things going on. This episode is brought to you by the number 24, and the number 24 is special because the product of any four consecutive numbers is divisible by 24.
It's also the inverse of the answer to the universe.
Fantastic.
Did I jump on the wrong podcast this morning? What the heck's going on?
Yeah. There's nothing Zen about doing math in the morning.
Now my head hurts. I got a bad start to the day. What's going on? No math, please.
We're trying to contemplate nothing.
Awesome. So let's contemplate nothing for a few minutes. In Zen and the Art of Disc Golf, I coined a simple phrase that we also use to end every podcast, which is, most importantly, just throw. But I've never really delved into attempting to describe to you all what I mean when I say this, mostly because I want it to mean what you need it to mean, whatever the meaning you need to derive from it in the moment that you're in. In some instances, it could mean simply just get out and play. Stop reading about it, stop listening to us talk about it, and just get out there and play disc golf. Of course, selfishly, it's not my wish that you should totally disconnect from the podcast or my writing entirely, but chances are if you're reading or listening, then you love this game, and the hardest part about playing disc golf for most people is to simply drop what you're doing and play disc golf. Now, of course, most of us can't play disc golf all day and night, at work, while driving the car, or riding in an airplane. So reading books, blogs, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts is the closest substitution because through media, it connects you to other like-minded players out there, at least mentally. But reading, listening to podcasts, and watching YouTube videos about becoming a better player will never be a substitute for playing the actual game. In other instances, when used on the course, the phrase just throw could have a more meditative meaning, such as forget everything and focus on throwing, drop your baggage, quiet your inner critic, visualize your shot, and simply pull back and release. I want to add a third meaning, however. The process of throwing involves that release. We could easily rephrase just throw with just let go. To some, this may sound cliche, to others profound. To me, sometimes the most profound concepts are found in the simplest ideas. You can't play disc golf without throwing or without letting go. Simple enough concept, right? You pull back, release, you move forward. You may have good lies, you may have bad ones, but at least you've moved forward. One of my favorite sayings for someone who throws and lands in a bad place is, well, you can see it from there, referring to the basket. It's meant as a joke, but it's true. You got closer to your goal and you can still see it. And it may sound a little overboard on the positive thinking boat, but seriously, if you're moving forward and having fun, does it matter? You can still see it from there. The game of disc golf is to release and move forward. You must release, you must let go, you must throw to play the game. Only you can control whether or not you're having fun. Sometimes that takes reframing your situation. A friend of mine on the course the other day had a couple of bad holes, and as a result, his score was falling behind. He began to complain about his round, and someone in the group stated, "At least you're having fun," and he quickly responded, "I'm losing. I don't have fun when I lose." What a statement! That is a high standard to place on happiness, isn't it? On that day, there were 4 of us playing, which meant he had a 1 in 4 chance of having fun based on his standard. Not to mention all the other elements outside of his control: wind, weather, course condition, heat, cold, level of practice, level of energy, ability to focus, all the elements that help you win. My standard for happiness on the course is being outside with the company of people I enjoy, playing a game that I love. And because this happens every round, as long as I remember that this is my standard for happiness, I have fun every round. I will never say winning isn't important. We should strive to win, but our positive emotions shouldn't be based on a standard left so highly to chance. In life, we set our own standards and expectations every day. Unfortunately, when we set our standards and expectations so high and base them on factors that we can't control, we allow our emotions to be controlled by chance. But if we're able to take a step back and reframe our standards and expectations for happiness, then we have a much better chance of becoming content and truly happy. You'll notice my standard for playing revolves closely around being grateful for being able to be outdoors, being grateful for having good company, being grateful that I have the time and the health to play such a truly fun game. We can all use this outlook on life to a greater extent. Look around you right now. All you have, people, things, your environment, are a product of the actions you took to get them. Hopefully it was all stuff that you really wanted at some time, and you got it. Dissatisfaction occurs when you place too much emphasis on what you don't have or what you can't control. But you can change that. You create your own standard for happiness, contentment, and fun. It's up to you to find them, reflect on them, and enjoy this life. Now get out there, play this game that you love, and just throw. Today we have on the show David Mawr, and David's here to talk to us about some different programs that he's putting together. The most interesting thing, I think, to all of us is that he's going to be doing a backpacking tour through Colorado and Kansas, and just learning disc golf and spreading the word of disc golf. And we're so happy to have him on the show. How are you, David?
I'm awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about, I know you contacted me and you said, hey, I'm doing this backpacking tour. I'm doing this GoFundMe. Tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started in disc golf and where you're going with this.
Yeah. So I'm a former teacher. That'll come into play when we talk about the GoFundMe. I've been, I've seen disc golf. I've had friends who played disc golf and tried to get me into it. And it always seemed too difficult. It seemed inaccessible to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Most people don't want to do it because it looks too easy to them. That's interesting.
Really?
Sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm not always the most confident person, so maybe that plays into it. But it's precisely kind of in the nature of disc golf that it deals with issues like that, I found. My son and I had a few discs around the house. We decided to go throw them, and within 2 weeks we had bags and all kinds of discs. And so probably my main attraction to it was it was something to play with my son. We're always competing, playing video games, shooting guns at things, lots of throwing knives at things. Disc golf was really a natural kind of extension, throwing axes. He has quite a collection of things. And we have a lot of fun together, but I found Zen. I mean, honestly, I found that it's a very meditative practice. setting up your shot and trying to get everything out of your head. Another part of my background is I have really severe social anxiety. So, and I found that the disc golf course is a good place to work on that. The social interaction is very positive, I found, but it's also constrained by the structure of the game. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I can totally identify with that. We've talked about that on prior episodes when I first started writing my book and everything,
Sure.
using that as a way to overcome some of those obstacles. So that's interesting.
Absolutely. And I found when I play, as I've gotten better at being a player, better on the tee box, at being inside the disc, understanding what a line can look like and looking for it and trying to get into it. I found that that's very helpful. And it connects to, meditation and things that I do outside of disc golf as well. So anyway, I've got those things, and my wife and I have been planning a backpacking trip for a long time, and this seemed like a perfect complement to what we're doing.
Yeah, so tell us about the backpacking tour and how that idea developed and what you're trying to accomplish with that.
Well, we've both always been kind of hobos in some ways all our lives, and kind of fascinated with the idea of being a little disconnected from the grid, a little bit more free,
Cool.
And we've both done jobs in offices. I was a teacher. We've tried lots of different things and decided that we're ready for a really new direction and a reset. And we've been looking and thinking about a backpacking trip for a long time, a few years. And we were married in Colorado. It seemed like a good place for both disc golf and backpacking. So we're like everything's coming to a head at once. We're selling all of our things. We are going to be formally homeless in 2 weeks. And we're going to hit the road. And the idea is, we're going to spend a lot of time together thinking about, our relationship and what we're building as we go forward. And we're going to spend a lot of time just contemplating nothing, contemplating nature, just really resetting our heads. And when we come back to civilization periodically on the trip, we'll be coming back to disc golf courses.
That's very nice. And I think we got our title for our show there, Contemplating Nothing with David Mawr. There it is. Boom. Awesome. Thank you.
I gotta tell you, David, that sounds amazing.
Oh, we can't wait. We can't wait. And we're going to blog the whole thing. So we're going to have, I have 3 blogs actually, and they're really ready to go. I just haven't turned them on yet. We have a YouTube channel where we're going to film the whole thing. We're going to have, there'll be pictures and blogs and videos from the whole trip, from all of the disc courses we go to, disc golf courses, from the people we meet, stores that we go to, the tourneys that I'm going to play in. I'm enrolled in a couple. And we're reviewing some equipment on the trip. DG Nomad has given us some portable, like 3-pound targets, and they have night glow chains on them. So look for videos of us playing night golf in the mountains.
Wow.
In the middle of nowhere with these portable.
I can't even imagine a 3-pound target. I would think some of my disc would hit it and knock it over.
Well, that's what we're going to find out, right? So we got a couple of these things. We're going to take them with us, and we'll see how they, it's a review. We'll see how they hold up to
absolutely. And
6 to 8
I've seen
weeks.
some of those for the first time in some YouTube videos. I was very unfamiliar with them, but they're looking pretty interesting. So I'll be very interested to see how they work for you, especially if you're traveling with them.
Yeah, they look very cool. They look easy to backpack with. They pack down into they fold up into a little tiny thing, like maybe a 2-foot long, 6 inches diameter tube. And they don't have a basket, but they open up and have chains that come down, and you can attach the chains so that it looks like a basket. And They have night glow. You have a UV light that you turn on, and the thing glows at night. It's gonna be crazy. Can't wait.
That's cool. And that brings up a point that I wanted to ask you. Backpacking generally involves greatly minimizing, your weight and simplifying. And how are you going to accomplish that with a bag of like 26 discs on your back?
Yeah, that's the real trouble I'm facing. I don't have trouble getting my clothing down and food, whatever. But I have my personal backpack is a snowboarding backpack, actually, and it has a sleeve in the back that holds a snowboard.
Okay.
And it's about the depth, top to bottom, of 2.5 discs. And it'll take like 4 discs thick, right, in this snowboarding pack. So I can put 8 discs in this thing and it's secure and my weight's distributed, and then I don't know. We're gonna have to see.
Make it work. I'm really excited about this. I mean, when you talked about it just in text, when you were emailing me, I had a hard time visualizing it. But after actually talking to you before the show and talking to you right now, I'm getting a little bit excited about it and excited to share it with our listeners and viewers.
Oh, I hope they like it. I can't wait. I mean, it's there's a lot of things going on in this trip. You know, it's our personal thing, and it's kind of a backpacking thing that's separate from disc golf. But there's a lot of there'll be a lot of us talking about how we're resetting our lives and using this as a kind of a fulcrum point.
But that's
trip,
really heartwarming, and I think that's what the majority of our listeners, they like stuff like that. They like to, it's not so much disc golf is a whole different animal for them because it's more of a spiritual, concept, or at least it has some of that for some of the people that like to listen. It's not all about, I know we talk about just throw, but that's a spiritual statement in itself.
Right.
But I think the human factor in what you're doing is so intriguing. That's awesome. So can you talk about the GoFundMe and what you're doing about with disc golf in schools? Because there's a whole nother element to you that's going on as well.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I was formerly a teacher. I taught for 5 years elementary, and I taught in college as a TA for a couple of years. So I don't know if that counts. But I have a real affinity for kids. Before I was a school teacher, I worked in a health club. I ran the daycare. People would drop their kids off while they work out. So I love kids. And, I look at schools around and I see that, honestly, I had to change the name of the GoFundMe. It was Bang Chains, not Brains. But it was pointed out to me that maybe pooping on football wasn't the best idea in North Texas. Probably true. But still, my initial thought was, all of these sports are coming under fire for producing concussions, right? Football, even soccer. I don't know if you know, even cheerleading is super dangerous.
I know firsthand. My wife has an injury from cheerleading from when she was a back injury, actually, from when she was in high school. That she's still, she basically can't even lift our son most days.
Yeah, it's the number one sport in quotes for traumatic head and neck injuries. Cheerleading is crazy, but disc golf doesn't have that issue. I mean, you can get hit if you're in in the wrong place at the wrong time. I guess that can be bad.
Right.
And poor form will, you can hurt your joints, but that would be true with running or anything. But it's so inexpensive, and I found it so beneficial, and it's accessible. It's such a good thing for kids. Kids seem to adapt to it very well. I've watched my son just do ridiculous things. It's just kids who are skating or playing football or whatever they're doing. They're learning to do these gross body patterns that you have to adopt and you have to inhabit to play the game. And I think it's good. I think it's a good option for kids and good option for schools, So we're trying to set up a program. We are setting up a program. It's definitely happening to donate baskets and putters to schools. And what we would do for a particular school is go there and spend a day in the PE class, talking to kids in all the classes, showing them how to play, basically what's going on, mostly putters probably, and donate portable baskets to the schools, donate starter kits, a bag with discs to the PE teachers, give them a really good clinic on the game and tell them where to go. Hopefully they'll get interested in it, and their passion will infect the kids. That's what I really think is the key to the whole thing, getting the PE teachers excited about it. And then revisit those schools every year with a new clinic and a new batch of kids. So we have a GoFundMe to raise. Our goal is $10,000. We know that for like every $1,000, we can get a few baskets into a school and then pay, get the clinic going, get everything done. And we're going to take also a portion of the proceeds and have putter tournaments quarterly, and then funds from that will create an ongoing, pool of money to do these things in schools.
Awesome.
That's the initial plan, and we'll see, what kind of changes have to be made as we go along.
Sure. Do you have a URL for that GoFundMe yet?
For sure. It's GoFundMe.com/ let me double check, Disc Golf in School.
Disc Golf in School.
Right. That's it.
And we'll make sure that hits our show notes as well. Cool. When does your backpacking tour start?
The 30th. We leave on the 30th of April. and we'll spend one night in Amarillo. We're going to play some disc golf there, and then we'll be in Colorado the next day, and we'll be out for 6 to 8 weeks, depending. And the idea is to go across Kansas, and end up at Dynamic Discs and visit them. Maybe do a tournament there, and then come back down.
That's awesome.
Do you have any idea how many disc golf courses you might see along the way, or are you just really going to just play it as it comes?
Well, we're open to making changes as we go, but I have been planning it out. We've got about 20 in Colorado that we're for sure going to hit. I contacted the Mile High Disc Golf Club and a couple other clubs in Colorado and asked them what they thought were the best. And then I took the top 20, I think it was 20. And we're going to go to those. Some of them are private, but we found tournaments on the private ones, so we don't have to pay separately. They kind of combine our fees that way.
Okay.
But
that's a really neat idea.
Super excited. Super excited.
Hey, David, I have a question for you. You know, a lot of people, when they hear folks like yourself doing this kind of stuff, you know, one of the things I think about is when you get to the end of the life, you're going to look back and you're going to say one of two things. You're going to say either I wish I had, or I'm glad I did. And I think that experiences like this are those ones you look back and say, I'm really glad I did. And I think there's a lot of folks out there listening who kind of sit there and go, wow, this would be really neat, or I'd like to do this. And whether it's the fundraising for the schools or the backpacking across Colorado, you know, what are some maybe words of advice or encouragement that you would have for folks who are kind of on the edge of maybe doing something like this to really get them to just go for it?
Well, first of all, just on a practical end, this kind of thing is not as difficult as it seems. With the internet, with the kind of technology that we have, it's very easy to get in touch with people, to find out about things, to plan a trip like this super cheaply. The GoFundMe is super, super easy. There's no reason anybody can't do that. Everybody's on Facebook or something like that. It's easy, to start spreading the word. But I think the most important thing, and this is a Zen concept, I mean, before people make a move like that, this is a risky move. I mean, what we're doing is we fully appreciate that we're taking a little bit of a gamble in our life, to do a trip like this, right? I'm 45 years old. But the Zen concept I wanted to mention is Satori, right? That idea of, it means enlightenment, right? But not complete. You're not a Buddha, right? It's not complete enlightenment, but it's moments where you really can make an intellectual and emotional assessment of where you are, right? And kind of what changes you might need to make. I think people need a moment like that sometimes to trigger the willingness to take a risk like this. But I think also if you can just face your fear and know that there's something that's been nagging at you. I said I'm 45. I've been wanting to do this backtracking trip since I was 15, and I was always too afraid or something held me back. But you get to a point where you're rock bottom emotionally, or you're just frustrated with your job or whatever, and you can have a moment where you need a break. You need to break away and look at things, maybe not objectively, but maybe really subjectively, So that's what we're doing. But it not only is that the process we're trying to go through, but it's a result of that kind of a moment of Satori, realizing that we were in a rut. Our family was in a rut, and we needed to break out a little bit and do something radical. I don't know if that makes any sense. I kind of rambled. I felt the caffeine kick in.
No, absolutely makes a lot of sense, and it's very interesting that you talk about this. For me personally, in my time in life, I was actually talking to the fellows before the show. We are in the same kind of predicament here in my house, particularly. We had a baby about 8 months ago, and that was our moment of Satori for when my wife, Chris, had to go back to work. When she went back to work, that was her point where she realized this job is not making me happy. And so I talked her into it. This Zen disc golf is sort of a second job for me, and I've been so blessed by the listeners, the readers, and everything to make part of my living off disc golf. But that has enabled me to go back to Chris and say, honey, you're not happy. You need to make a change. And here's what we'll do. You need to quit your job. We need to get rid of that safety net so that there is no choice but to be successful in your dreams. And so she has this dream. She's a photographer. And she's been one for many years, and she actually did it before she went back to work. But she went to work at this job believing that that was the respectable adult thing to do. And when she went to this job, she basically placed herself in a cage. Had she not gone to work for corporate America, and had she continued in her dream, she'd probably be making twice as much money right now than if she would have rested on safety. And so you brought this concept up about risk, and I'd like to talk about that for just 1 second. Risk is something that I think needs to be more defined in our lives, because our concept of risk is kind of passed down. And when I mentioned that about Chris, she was on a path to success, but she perceived it to be risky because there was no safety involved. Wasn't it Thomas Jefferson who says those who would sacrifice freedom for security deserve neither? And so what she did was she sacrificed her freedom, i.e. Freedom to follow her dreams, for the security of a check that came, and it was the same check every 2 weeks. But Chris has a boss at her job. What is more risky? Developing and controlling your path in life, your own path in life, or giving that to a boss that can fire you for any reason? See, I live in Virginia, and it's a will-to-work state. We don't have unions. Yep. We don't have things like that. They can let her go because they don't like her. That gives a lot of control to somebody else. And now Chris is very well liked wherever she goes, so I don't want to make that, insinuation. But let's say hey, for five months straight, she met every goal that they put in front of her. On month 6, she fell short of it, and they can let her go for that very reason. So what is more risky? Taking control of your life and reaching for your dreams, removing that security net and giving yourself only one option, and that's success? Or is it more risky to give all of the control and power to someone else who can change your life in a minute? And in that minute, once you're let go, that security is totally gone. Now, if you don't have a plan, or if you don't have anything set up, then that's worse. That's even worse. And so risk is alleviated by planning. And so that's what we did in our household. We said, okay, well, it is more risky for you to stay in your job and risk your happiness, risk your freedom until retirement. And risk having someone else take control of your life and only be let out of your cage for vacation. I know I'm on a tirade here, but risk is alleviated by planning. And that's what it sounds like you're talking about, David. A lot of people would say, well, backpacking is dangerous. People have even said disc golf is dangerous. Yeah. But risk is alleviated by planning.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you have to consider there are multiple levels to risk, or to what's happening to you in any given situation. Your wife in the situation she was in, which is very common. It's sad. It's so common. It does more than place you in a cage, physically or in terms of your time and where your work goes. But, it fixes your ego in a relationship with someone else who has demands on it, and demands that it behave and be manifest in a certain way. If I'm not getting too hippie on you.
This is a hippie show. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And how dare you on a disc golf podcast?
But I feel that very strongly. I think that you don't just give away your time, or you don't just give away your creativity or your effort, but you give away your personality. And if you wanted to use the word soul, that would be cool. But yeah, by choosing to do something that is meaningful to you, or that you can create meaning from, rather than something that's just creating a paycheck, that gives you an immediate freedom, freedom of spirit, a freedom in sense of the capacity to develop free will, and impose it on yourself in your own life. I think that's essential to being fully human, and we trade a lot of that away.
Oh yeah, for that concept of security, for that concept of falling in line. And
what's secure? I mean, you can be secure in someone else's little corporate scheme, or you can be secure in your own happiness and the sense that you're moving on a path, that also demonstrates to your children that they can have that freedom. Mm-hmm. Once you have I think once you have a sense that that's what you're doing, that you're being able to follow, a right path for you in that sense, physical security, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? All of those things you have to have.
Mhm.
You don't need that much. You need to be able to eat. You need to be able to have a place to sleep safely.
Mhm.
In this culture, we can get those things very simply. I mean, I'm going to have them for 8 weeks in a tent, a couple layers of nylon between me and the world. And I'm not that worried about that. But I am worried about missing the contentment or the insight or, the positive experience or interaction with my wife or nature or whatever it is I can have. Just missing that and then being 55 and maybe not physically able to do it. I don't think that's good.
And that brings me to another point. I've recently been reading Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, and I know Tim is a big fan of
Love that guy.
Yeah. But he brings up one really interesting concept, and it's one that I guess I'd thought of before, but never really put into words the way he did. Retirement is speculative. You may never make it there. So if all of your goals and planning are towards when I reach 50, when I reach 55, then I'll be happy. Then this will happen. Well, you may never make it to 50. I mean, I'm telling you, especially in my line of work, not only do I see it, on a daily basis, I see bad things happen to people, unfortunately, a lot. And I am in no way saying don't save for retirement. You absolutely should save. You should invest. You should do all of these things, but don't put your life on hold. Go out and do the things that make you happy, bring you joy, bring you closer together as a family, as David's doing. And I think that's why I'm so intrigued by, and the more I talk to you, by what you're doing. And that tends to always happen with our guests. We bring them on. We don't really know exactly where the show is going to go, but this is super cool. And I really hope that you come back on our show. Do you think it'll be possible on the road for you to come on the show or to send us some audio or something like that?
Absolutely.
That'd be really neat.
Yeah, absolutely. We can certainly record some audio while we're in the moment and send that to you. And then we'll be making pit stops in town, at least once a week. So
will you be updating the blogs and the YouTube and everything while you're on the road and everything? Yeah,
that'll be, I'll definitely be doing that every time we have signal. So ideally I'd like to put some content up every day. The idea would be, I think in the mornings I'll wake up and exercise and do my writing. And if I can post it, I will. And then throughout the day, we're taking videos and pictures. And then at night, we'll probably upload a lot of that if we have signal. And some of it may have to, wait until we come back out of the mountains. So there might be, huge dumps of material every few days, but we'll see how it goes. But absolutely, I would love to. I'd be honored to.
I think it would be really interesting. What do you think, Chris and Tim? If we got David to drop us some audio that we could drop on the podcast, just so everybody, all the podcast listeners, can keep up with him, and of course we'll post your videos and stuff on the social media. Awesome. But if we could
I'd love that.
Just like
it'd be super cool.
Like your insights, things that are becoming insightful while you're out on your trip. We could give you 5 or so minutes, and let's see what's up with David, and we'll just cut it right on in. I think that'd be really
David,
cool.
Awesome.
I'm real excited to hear about some of the people that you end up meeting out there, and I really liked how you mentioned that that social anxiety is a big deal for you, and that working on that on the disc golf course is very helpful. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit, share some thoughts, share some of your feelings about interactions you've had on the disc golf course, and the interactions that you hope, expect, or that you might not even expect to have when you're out on your trip.
Okay, well, sure. Well, first, I guess a brief background on me. I've got severe social anxiety, like clinical bad social anxiety. And this is the longest conversation I've had with 3 people probably in months, aside from what happens on the disc golf course. What I found is that at first my son and I could go play, or I can go play. I have a course here. I can play 24 hours a day, and that's nice for someone like myself, I can go out and enjoy whatever there is to be enjoyed from playing alone, and there's a lot, and without pressure, social pressure. But I found that also, although I've had some panic attacks, I had one in a doubles tournament. I felt very frustrated because, someone else is depending on you and it's a random draw. That was very bad. But I found that in singles tournaments and things, disc golf people seem to be so supportive. It's like 3 other people on your card, and now I'm dealing with some people I don't know, but they're all in their own head. They're all trying to do well. And so that limits the social interaction a bit. And things seem to be kept, pretty light for the most part. And everyone seems to be encouraging, even though we're all competing, if you have a good run or you hit chains, everybody's happy, and that feels good.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you don't feel, or I don't feel, the sense that I'm going to be criticized a lot or made fun of. There's a little bit of stuff, I know my form has been pretty goofy because I'm new, and people make fun, but that's fine. But, when you're dealing with social anxiety, you're dealing with a lot of paranoia and worry about what people think. And I've just found that the way people behave on disc golf courses tends to alleviate some of that or allow you to set it aside. And then, for real, the on the tee box moment when you step out of the world onto the tee and you're trying to feel, the wind, and you're trying to feel your disc, and you're trying to feel where a path can be. You have to get out of, you have to make a practice of not thinking about these other people, and you have to make a practice of putting everything out of your mind, or you won't be successful. And that's an amazing meditative practice for someone with social anxiety. And
Absolutely.
It has to happen so often, at least 18 times, assuming you get 18 aces, right? 18 times in a row. And it's practice, So now if I'm at the store and I'm in line and I'm trapped, I got to buy this bottle of juice or whatever, and I'm starting to freak out because there are people around me, I have this practice that I've been doing every day on the course, how do I get into the moment? I'm just going to think about this juice, I'm just going to, treat this moment like a moment on the tee box. It's an extremely effective meditative practice. It's a good corollary to cognitive behavioral therapy or things like that you might be working on if you have social anxiety, because it's all about creating patterns and structures and habits of thought and feeling, and that's what I've found, and it's been great for me. It's been super great. And if things get too bad, if I'm out on the course and I'm playing with some people and I can't hack it, hey guys, I need to go do some putting practice. Nobody cares. Mm-mm. Nobody's upset.
No, just another day.
So yeah. And you go and, what do people think about you? If you're worried about it, if your anxiety's kicking up, well, they think that you're out here grinding,
Well,
so, nobody cares.
First of all, it takes a brave man to admit that he has some opportunities especially as mental opportunities, and to put yourself out there on the limb and you're not just speaking about these opportunities, you are making a lifestyle change to make yourself a better person. And let me ask you, no pressure, but have you read Zen and the Art of Disc Golf?
I'll tell you what, you can see the video. Look what I've got in my hands. To be perfectly honest, I haven't. I just got it in the mail yesterday. This is one of the disc golf equipment reviews I'm going to be doing on the trip.
Well, it's going to be a little bit biased because because you've already been on the podcast. Well, I hope it's biased, honestly. I'm just going to throw that out there. I hope it's biased.
Just keep complimenting
just hope
me.
You have
But the way that you speak, both Chris and Tim and I have read the book.
I bet you have.
Once or twice. You
Get
sound...
sick of it. I know what it's like.
Yeah, you sound like a mascot for this book. Am I right, Chris?
I probably
absolutely
am. Yeah,
you couldn't fit that book any better, I don't think.
This guy's living Zen and the Art of Disc Golf, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Okay,
I think some of the words you said actually came up in big pictures in front of me, just like in the book. Those quotes.
Really?
Shut down. So I'm really glad you have a copy of that. If you didn't, I was going to send you one. So there's that.
Maybe I should have waited 3 days. No, I'm glad I bought it. I'm looking forward to reading it. I want to say something. You were very glowing in your description of what I'm doing, but one thing I'd like to point out is that I didn't make a move to improve myself in this way until a few years ago. And, so I was 41 and a lot of things had gone sideways, for me in my life, largely as a consequence of my inability to deal with anxiety and fear and paranoia. And so you're seeing a version of me that's, 3.5 years into a process. So it's not, I want to say that to other people too. It's just like going to the gym or learning to play disc golf or anything else. There's practice and contemplation and moments of satori and moments of dark, no satori, no insight. And that's when you have to lean on faith that you can find your way if you keep trying. Mm-hmm. And that what I'm describing is really no more depressing than where someone is before that trip begins. But it should be understood that, this is a process. Sometimes you get into this process when you're kind of broken, and then you understand you need to be fixed, or you're broken enough that you have to stop lying to yourself. So, absolutely. There's not all.
That's great.
I don't want to take too much credit or, complimentary.
You should. You should.
Or, you know what I mean?
Take it.
I'll take it.
There's a video, and I don't want to talk about it too much, but I'd love to include it on the notes. Have you guys seen the Steve Harvey video on jumping? Have you seen that?
You sent that to us not too long ago. Yep. It was a great video.
Sure have.
That is going to be the perfect video to add into the show notes. Basically, he talks about, going. It's actually what is it, after Family Feud or something like that. He talks to the audience, and he breaks it down. It wasn't Family Feud, yeah. That's what he hosts, right?
Yeah, he hosts that show.
Yeah.
And 30 others.
Yeah. So
talk about grinding. That dude is a beast.
Yeah. So right after the show, he talks straight to the audience, and he talks about this concept called jumping, and it's something that you've been talking about throughout the show. There comes a point in your life where you've got to take a look at yourself, at your surroundings, and you got to say, "Am I happy?" And if the answer is no, you are in control of that. And you may have to jump. You may have to jump ship on something, whether it's your job, whether it's the people you surround yourself with, whether it's your activities. You need to take a leap of faith and make a change. And only you can do that. It's great if you have people who support you around it. I'm very lucky. I have my wife. I've got Chris. I've got Tim. I've got Zach. I've got I've got other people who support me. And I'm sure you have your wife and your son who support you. And that's the thing to remember, that those people who support you, they're going to support you through thick and thin, but you've got to jump. You've got to take control of your life. You got to take control of yourself. And you've got to make it, you only have 70, 80, 90 years if you're lucky on this earth. And why give them away to misery? Why?
Well, and if you have family and friends who are watching you live and they see you make these changes, that can be a great gift for them too. I mean, you got to think about your connectedness to the other people that make up who you are, and that you can do a lot to help the people you're close to by letting them see that you're willing to take the risk to do that.
Absolutely. And the other thing that he points out is that you're going to have to jump. And guess what? At first, your parachute's not going to open. It's not going to all be great. Everything's not all going to be great. But eventually that parachute's going to open, and you're going to stay alive. You'll stay alive. If you've got work to do on this earth, you will stay alive. And all of us still have work to do. I'm really happy about this segment. But we've got to move on. We got to talk about a couple of our disc golf products and services that meet our fancy. But man, I'm so happy to have met you, David. I'm going to turn you into a mascot for Zen Disc Golf. That's
awesome.
That's all there is to it. Mascot. That's wonderful. I don't know if that's the best word. That makes me kind of sound like I'm going to dress you up in a bear costume and.
Hey, dress me up. It'll be fun. I'll be a furry for a day for Zen Disc Golf.
I'm pretty sure we're going to clip that out and put it somewhere else in this.
That may end up being on the strange things that you've seen.
Yeah.
Someone's going to put that on your post.
So let's talk about some disc golf products and services that are meeting our fancy. Why don't you go ahead and start us out, Tim?
Sure. It is getting warmer out, and when it gets warmer, I get sweaty. Not to share too much, but
wow, we just went in a whole nother direction there.
I know, right? just
How about you start, Chris? No, I'm just kidding.
I can't follow that up. Are you kidding?
I'm just sitting here in a pool of sweat. I thought I'd tell you guys.
There we go.
Go ahead, Tim.
So anyway, it affects my grip on the discs, and I've tried everything from dirt to the little powder puff thing from Innova to there's one that I used to use for bowling, and the best one that I found is something called the Dirt Bag by Dynamic Discs, and it's a little bag of dirt and rocks, and does a great job of getting my hands the right consistency for throwing. It's as close as I can get to actual dirt, which is actually my preference. But if there's no dry dirt on the ground to get kind of get my hand dried off, I'll use this. And it's a must-have for any time I'm playing and it's warm outside and my hands start sweating. And then when I'm in competition, playing tournaments, it's a must-have accessory that I have with me for pretty much the whole season from spring through fall. The only times I don't use it are in the winter time, and it's pretty nice. If it gets wet, it still works pretty well. You don't want to get it soaked, but that's one of the things I have a problem with some of the other ones is that when they get wet, they just kind of turn into a big lumpy ball of nothing. And this works pretty well if it gets a little bit wet. So it's the Dynamic Disc Dirt Bag. If you're a sweaty hot mess like I am in the summertime, then it might be something you want to pick up.
Awesome.
I've got one of those in my bag. It works great.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. They're awesome.
David, you have a product that also used for grip. I think that's a pretty good transition.
The Friction Gloves, who make gloves for Ultimate Disc, Ultimate Frisbee. They're very well established in that sport. They have a new prototype glove that they're going to release for disc golfers, and they've sent me a few pairs. I haven't used them in at all yet, but I've tried them on. They're for giving you grip in any conditions, they claim. So snow, in the rain. If you got one of the things I come up against a lot is dew in the mornings. It's very frustrating. But they say that it does feel very grippy. I've thrown a few in the front yard with it, and it feels good. It's a nice tight glove with a grip all across the palm of the hand and up the fingers. It's supposed to keep you warm too, and my hand is sweaty right now. I'm wearing one. So I guess it's doing that. So we're going to take these up in the mountains and see how they fare. See if they keep me warm, see if they keep the discs from shanking. I don't even know if I can do that with the best conditions, but we'll compare it to my normal number of shanks and see what happens.
I was going to ask about that. The more that you add grip to your disc, the more the increase you have for chance for grip lock.
Right.
So you might have to.
I don't know how it works. We'll see. I mean, maybe if you're dealing with enhanced grip plus water on the disc, it's a wash. I don't know. Maybe.
Good point. All right, what you got there?
You got to do me a favor. If you're up there in the mountains, I want to see a video of you just hucking a drive down a mountainside and get a video of that. I'd absolutely love to see that.
I'm going to try to shoot one off of Pikes Peak, so I'll get video of that.
That'd be
Look out
phenomenal.
below. What do you got for us, Chris?
So Night Eyes just recently sent us a couple of set of discs. So Rodney and I were out throwing those around with some basket lights, and I know Tim's already done a review and he's covered the discs pretty well. So I'm only going to say a couple of quick words about how the discs actually fly. They're pretty neat. The driver to me felt like a little bit more stable beast. The mid-range was pretty unstable. It felt almost like a fuse for me. Didn't like a lot of power, but had a lot of glide and finesse it. And the putter was pretty stable. Almost felt like a wizard with a little bit less glide. Very stable. You could throw that pretty hard. A lot of power. So it's a pretty good set all around. But I can't express enough how amazing it was to have discs lighting up in the middle of the night, glowing really bright, and especially changing colors as we threw them. So, a lot of my friends have tried the night golf where they either put put glow in the dark duct tape on there, or they'll put. I've thrown one where you've got that light that you cut a hole in the middle of the disc and push it through, and that's cool and all. But the Night Eyes, the LEDs on there they were just really, really amazing. Throwing down a hill in absolute darkness, and there were cars coming by, and we could see the cars slowing down and watching as we threw these discs around, and it was a great experience, and I can't even describe how neat it is to watch your disc change color as it goes through the air. And at Night Eyes, you can set the LED to a specific color, red, green, blue, or something in between. Or you can let it go on the fade option, and I was leaving mine on the fade option, and it's just really, really neat. And it's also a lot of fun being able to just bomb your disc and then be able to find it. Even in the daytime, sometimes you throw it into some higher grass or down a hill, it's hard to find, but it was really easy to find these discs because they were glowing in the dark. And Night Eyes also has some basket lights. They almost look like glow sticks with hooks on them, but they are LEDs. You twist the top and they turn on. These ones were all red. I don't know if they come in other colors or not, but we would put one or two on a basket, and they worked quite well. But to supplement those, I got actually my wife for my birthday got me a set of Glow City LED pods. And these were similar, where you could set them on fade or set them different colors, but they're a lot closer to something like the like landscaping lights, where you've got this 3-inch circular pod with a whole bunch of bright LED lights on it, and you could set it to a number of different colors. And we found you could put it at the top. It's got a adhesive strip with Velcro on it, so you can Velcro them to the basket. And it worked really, really well with the Night Eyes. You could set it to the same color as a disc, or have it cycle through the colors, and it was one of the coolest experiences we've ever had. We would put the lights at the bottom of the basket and shine up, and it's just, you got some phenomenal images back there. So I'd really recommend trying out Night Eyes and doing some glow golf with some real glowing discs.
Well, you sold me.
Yeah, me too. I need some of those for the mountains.
They're fun.
Yeah,
they're super fun. Yeah.
And check out Tim's review too. Tim did a great job describing the flight of the discs, and I completely agree with that. And we'll get a review out there with a couple of images on putheads.com pretty soon as well.
Okay, and we'll link that up as soon as it comes through as well. I was gonna do I'll do a quick disc review here. We've talked about the Westside Disc Seer before, but more so than any other disc that I've given a new player to try out on the course, they have loved the Seer just by far, and it's helped train them how to throw the disc. So I definitely recommend a Westside Disc Seer to everybody out there. I
would tell you it takes very little arm speed, and the thing just sits up flat and goes straight for days. So it's a really, you're right, it's a great beginner disc.
Great beginner disc. All right, speaking of Westside Discs, I've got one to give away, and that's to someone who left us a 5-star review on our iTunes podcast. That's right, now we're bouncing back and forth between reviews for the podcast and reviews for the book on Amazon. You just leave us a positive review anywhere, Hey, you're going to get something out of it. I'm going to send somebody today a Westside Destiny. Has anybody thrown one of those?
No, I have one of those.
New, right? Yeah.
A lost one over at Dance's track. I feel like I'm talking to people on the disc. You guys don't know what course I'm talking about. Yeah, I lost one of those.
Somebody might.
Well, you're going to make somebody a very happy disc golfer when they find it.
Yeah, that's where
it's white. It's brand new.
That's where I got this one from. I found it over there on the... Just scratch the name right on off. David Mawr. Who's this guy? Anyway, so I'm going to be giving this one away to somebody who left us a 5-star review for the podcast on iTunes. They say, great new hobby. And this is 5 stars from Agathor6969. That's a little inappropriate. But anyway, found your podcast while I was browsing for something new to listen to. After the first couple, I knew I had to try this sport. Well, that's unique. Somebody who just listens to a disc golf podcast who's never played disc golf.
That is confirmation that you have grown the sport.
Yes, by one. I have to try this sport, and I must
disc golf.
And I must say that I am hooked. I listen to this podcast on my morning commute, and it sets the tone for the day. I love it and plan soon to purchase your book and make monthly contributions to the podcast. Thank you so much for this podcast and introducing me to a new passion in my life. So that's 0 to 100 right there. That takes a lot of effort to just, look up something. I don't even know what this is and start listening to it and that says good on you, Chris. Good on you, Tim. Obviously they're entertained by you two. It couldn't be me. Also, just wanted to take a quick moment to go ahead and give away our $20 gift card to Infinite Discs for the month of April. That's right. Every month, we give away a $20 gift card to Infinite Discs to one of our gracious podcast contributors. If you want some more information about contributing to the Zen Disc Golf podcast, please check out the notes or the blog. Essentially, I just ask for $1 to $3 a month. This helps keep the show going, growing, flowing, getting us great giveaways, great guests, and just trying to keep everything going here. The podcast, unfortunately, costs us money to make. And in order to kind of remove a lot of the advertising, your regular advertising, this is how I've opted to go. And it also gives me a way to give even more back to you guys because we end up giving the gift card away. So this month's gift card goes to Dustin DiMatteo. So, Dustin, if you're listening, you've probably already received your email with the gift card code to Infinite Disc. Spend it how you like. Congratulations. Tim, you had something to go over.
Yeah, for sure. I want to give a few shout outs if I can.
Shout outs.
We've got the shout out. We got the fundraising team going, the Mind Body Disc fundraising team going on over at the St. Jude fundraising page. That's events.stjude.org/Mind Body Disc. And I wanted to really thank the people who have donated so far.
Awesome.
So far, we've raised a total of $480.
Awesome.
So when I put my match in there of $120, that'll bring us up to a total of $600 raised, which is just amazing. I'm so happy about that.
It's wonderful.
And nice. It's awesome. So I just wanted to say thanks to the following people who are on the Mind Body Disc fundraising team. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really, really appreciate it. So thanks to
all right,
Jared
well, if you guys don't have anything
Wiglish,
else, we're going to come to a close on this show.
I apologize if I just
Thank you,
butchered that.
everyone, to listening.
Dave
Hopefully,
T,
you got a lot of great
Linz
information
Gear,
out of this. Make sure you
Nathan,
check out the show
Randy
notes
B,
for the show. Going to give you some links to go to some
folks
different
over at
places,
Zen and Narrative Disc Golf,
David's
Jack
GoFundMe,
Sprague,
to whatever
Philip
other
Boystock,
links he gives
and Paul
to me
Wagner.
after the show.
You guys all rock. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You gave a shout out to me on my own podcast.
Yes. Oh, that's who that is. Okay. I got it.
And I refer to you as people.
Do what?
He referred to you as people.
He did. The people. That's me and my 8-month-old. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, we're going to come to a close on this show. Thank you, everyone, to listening. Hopefully, you got a lot of great information out of this. Make sure you check out the show notes. Always go check out Tim's blog. It's a masterpiece, Mind Body Disc. And so is Chris's blog, dgputtheads.com, zendiscgolf.com, of course. But most importantly, just throw. Much blah blah.
Awesome, good start.
Did that hurt?
So professional. The end.
The end.
All right.